Live from the Talking Joe studios, it's Talking Joe.
Talking Joe is on the air.
Hey, it's me, Mark, and welcome to Talking Joe, the G.I. Joe Comics podcast. Now, today we will be looking at G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue number 323, which was released on Wednesday, December 10th, 2025. Just a few days ago, as at time of recording / streaming. The synopsis for this issue is Cobra Resurgent. Cobra Commander begins a new era of Cobra, but are his enemies one step ahead? I will not be discussing this issue alone. Two people will be joining me. The first of whom is my regular co-host. It's the Real American Tim. It's Tim Finn.
Hello, Mark, and hello, listeners and viewers. And before we talk about G.I. Joe, just at the top of the episode, I want to remind Talking Joe listeners and viewers who might be big Larry Hama fans, and who might be superhero fans, and who might be Mark Bright fans. He drew G.I. Joe issues 89 through 107, minus 2 or 3 fill-ins in there. He also did parts of issues 35 and 36. I am the editor of a miniseries written by Larry Hama and penciled and inked by Mark Bright, M.D. Bright, Doc Bright, which is going to start in February. It's coming from Boom Studios. And the reason why I'm mentioning this at the top of the episode is that if you are someone who tells your local comic book store to order you something, if you subscribe to a comic at your shop, the final order cutoff for issue 1 is coming up soon. FOC is Monday, December 22nd. The first issue is 40 pages. And it's great. It's colored by Josh Burcham, who colored a lot of excellent Transformers comics at IDW. And this is a 4-issue miniseries. And first issue comes out February 11th. Okay, back to G.I. Joe.
Now, back to G.I. Joe.
So I did tease that there would be me plus Tim plus one more person. Who could that extra person be? Well, he's very important because he's got his own jingle. I've made a jingle. I'm going to play it. Pelletier's on the art. Oh, Pelletier's on the art. For this issue and for several more. Here we go. He's a glutton for punishment. He's back.
I can't believe you keep having me back. So I can't believe you keep having me back.
Welcome back, Paul Pelletier, penciler of this issue and many other issues of G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. You are co-regular penciler on this book. You've drawn half of the issues so far.
Yeah.
And semi-regular host of this podcast.
I think with 324, that's 13 issues, I think. Something like that.
That's a good run. Yeah,
not bad at all. Especially nowadays. It doesn't seem like many people have long runs on books nowadays.
Paul, what is that bit of art over your right shoulder?
This thing here?
Yeah.
That is an old Power Man page. Let's see. It's from Marvel Comics Presents number 82.
This is not something you drew.
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
I don't put my own stuff up on the walls. I'm a fan of comic art, so if I pick something up over the years or trade with other artists, that's what goes up on my walls, not my stuff.
Okay, I thought maybe this was a page from this issue or the next issue, and you're in your studio and your fingers are covered in ink. I know you didn't ink this issue, and you spread all of your work out around to see it all.
Nope. I mean, I am in my studio, otherwise known as the basement. But no, if I have stuff up on the walls, it's other people's work.
And then just a quick reminder, Mark's in England. I'm near Boston. Paul, where are you in right now?
Maine.
Okay.
Yep.
East Coast.
The main man. Yeah, we're recording live, if that's the right expression. If you are watching live, then feel free to join in with your comments as we go. So, yeah, we are gathered here to talk about issue 323, but there is a whole bunch of stuff that has happened in the news, which we can just have a little bit of a cover through. I don't normally share like stuff that I'd sort of buy and get in the post, but I got one cool thing in the last week, which was this. I'm not small. The book is big. This is the IDW Treasury Edition, which is just a bit of a strange, unique, oversized book that reprints issues 1, weirdly 82, which is Weeding Out, which is what that sort of episode where you've got a bunch of Joes and they're sort of put through the paces and they get cut down to a few final Joes, and then the very final issue, 155. So I probably a lot of people don't even realize this exists, but an interesting G.I. Joe comic / artifact.
It's weird for another reason. It has a J. Scott Campbell cover, which is the art from his Devil's Due issue 1 cover.
Devil's Due issue 1,
right?
Yeah.
So that sort of looks like it might be a reprint, but it's of the other continuity. IDW also did a Transformers Treasury Edition when the main Transformers book finished and then relaunched as 2 books. So there was a Transformers Treasury Edition that includes the Death of Optimus Prime one-shot. Spoiler, he doesn't die. More Than Meets the... But it's a great issue. He abdicates. More Than Meets the Eye issue 1 and Robots in Disguise issue 1. And actually, folks, if you need that, I have that at Hub Comics. I have that at my store. But it's hiding in the back, so you'd have to ask me special.
Cool. So covering up a little bit of any other business, we've got I think this is the final G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, issue number 1 reprint. Some people are calling this a facsimile edition. And this was a Fan Expo exclusive by Kael Nagu. I probably pronounced that wrong. Kaelngu. It's quite a cool cover of the Baroness, and there's probably an artistic term for this, but sort of within the silhouette of the Baroness, they've fit in Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow, and it's available as a trade foil edition, and then a sort of monochrome Virgin foil edition, both limited to just 750 copies each. There's the art with the red background, and look, it's always nice to see the original art as well. So this does exist as a physical object. He used pencils and inks on bits of paper to create the art, which is always a delight to see.
Very cool.
That's a sharp drawing, and I'll just note we'll just push my broken record button. What a cool drawing. One of these characters is not in issue 1 of G.I. Joe, and I do prefer covers of reprints to somewhat match the interiors, but hey.
Oh, now, come on.
Well, but Paul, what I mean
variant covers usually have nothing to do with the interiors. So.
I mean, one of these characters didn't show up for 2 years. So my analogy is if you buy like a Star Trek The Next Generation season 1 DVD box set and the Borg are on the box. Well, they didn't show up until season 2 or 3, so isn't that confusing? Paul is shrugging his shoulders.
I don't know.
This does not bother Paul.
Well, I'm just so used to. I mean, half of the variant covers I've had on my issues have nothing to do with the interiors. So, it's as long as it attracts attention and people want to buy it, I think that's what people that's what the companies are looking for.
But isn't it a slippery slope? Because couldn't you just put like any G.I. Joe character on it, or like George Washington, or like the Borg, right? If Skybound had the license, like once you start not reflecting the interior, why do you need to reflect the interior at all?
But the people love the Baroness, so
that's true. Well, she is,
but she is in the issue, so we don't object to the Baroness.
Yes, it's the ninja in white who's not in the issue.
Right.
Mark, what other news?
I was going to say as well that I think I give a pass for characters not appearing in an issue often on variants to some degree, because quite often the artist is asked to provide a cover, not necessarily knowing what will be in the issue, or even potentially not knowing what even issue it will appear on. Whereas this is a reprint of a comic that has been in existence for 44 years at this point almost. So they they do know what they don't know what the issue is about.
And not to assume anything, but judging from the picture you had of the artist, the comic might actually be older than he is. So
I would not give
it's probably true.
I would not give the artist a hard time for this choice. I would give an editor or the retailer that's making this choice. But I'm just a grump, so
I know exactly what you speak of. So
I had a bit of a random one up next, which was just the original art to G.I. Joe issue number 6 that someone sort of stumbled across a page that I think via I forget the details now. I'm woefully underprepared on this one. Oh, here we go. It was Brett Carreras on Facebook shared this while repping Larry at NC Comic Con. A really nice guy walked up and asked me if I thought he could get a piece of artwork signed, and he laid out in front of me the original 2-page splash featuring the first full appearance of the October Guard from ARAH number 6 by Trimpy. My jaw hit the floor. I asked him why he was asking if he could get it signed or not. Because I want to sell it. Well, buddy, it's 2-page 1980s double pager. It would be worth up to a lot. But if you're seriously willing to sell it, I am a Joe nut and I will happily pay you X amount on the spot right now for it. About 10 minutes later, the artwork was mine, and it's already at the custom frame shop. These are the first ARAH interior pages I've ever owned, and I had to share them. That is a fantastic story and a fantastic first G.I. Joe page to add to your collection. And it also is just a strange page as well, because this page was originally drawn with these other characters, the Pravda Patrol, and there is evidence that exists of those of the original photocopied pages that I've just flashing up on the screen, and then they essentially pasted up the page with some amendments, converting them into these new alternate characters, the October Guard, who have gone on to G.I. Joe fame and fortune. So great page, great story, great bit of history just surrounding this page and this story as well.
Mark, if I may, I think it may not technically be a paste up. I think it may be a touch up. I think it may be white out and redrawn directly on. But a paste up would be drawn on another piece of paper, or perhaps copied, and then that rubber cemented. But the folks, if you're listening, we're looking at this 2-page spread from issue 6 from 1982 of the various vehicles jumping over like a canyon and a ravine, and all of the October Guard heads are very bright white, and all the word balloons are very bright white, and the paper has slightly yellowed, and that to me says everything got whited out of names and faces.
No, not necessarily, because if you look at the word balloons, they're all pretty white too. So I'm wondering if it's a case of it was redrawn and they used a photostat and they pasted that on top, because that used to happen too. Instead of just whiting out, they would redraw it, do a photostat, and then paste that on top.
I mean, the shapes are pretty irregular. Like if we zoom in on the word balloon that's all the way on the left, I feel like that's
Yeah. I can sort of zooming in on it on my screen. I can see that there's on the word balloons, most of it looks to be like a whiteout that has been painted on the page and redrawn over.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, but without looking at it really closely.
I would love.
But I do know that there have been times in the past where I've had stuff where I had to redraw it. They just use a photostat of the redraw, and then paste that on top of the artwork.
You mean before scanning and Photoshop, Paul?
Yeah, back in the 90s when I was working with DC.
I would love to know how much this went for, and I can only guess.
Probably not enough. Who knows? He might have made an offer that they couldn't refuse. Look, it's Diana in the chat. Hey, it's Paul. That's awesome. How you been, Paul?
I've been working hard. Working hard. I'm halfway through the Mutant Year Zero miniseries for Titan. But I was just talking with Alex Antone a couple days ago about Return to Joe, and we're looking at possibly 329. So might be getting to get going on pencils on G.I. Joe again, probably the end of January.
Wow, neat. What a scoop.
Cool.
Yep.
Very good. Now, also coming out on a monthly basis are the G.I. Joe, a Real American Hero, Larry Hama. I'm saying it wrong. The Hama Files editions. So 4 have been announced, and these look to be monthly. The first of which, issue number 26, was released on November the 26th. And then essentially it looks like we're getting them monthly after that. So next up, 152 on December the 24th, 49, which is the Destro and Mindbender raiding the catacombs to create Serpentor on 49, so that's out end of January. And then most recently solicited was issue number 2, released in February. So they're sort of shooting these issues all over the place, as low as number 2, as high as number 152. So yeah, probably slightly harder to collect. If you're filing these, how do you file them? Numerical, release order. If you're a comic book store, I'm sure it's a complete nightmare ordering these out of order. But watch out for them. And they come in basically 3 editions. So they've got the reprint of the original cover art. Then there is a Chris Mooneyham variant for each one of these so far, and then there is also a foil variant as well. So that his on screen is the 152 featuring Joe Colton, and the very Joe Kubert-y looking Chris Mooneyham 152 variant, Destro and Mindbender, and the Serpentor Mooneyham variant, and the most recently revealed issue number 2 with a giant close-up of Quinn with the Joe team reflected in his visor. Another great cover. It's really nice to see that we've got the old, but we've also got the new, which sort of adds a little bit of extra excitement, I think, to this series. Be interesting to know quite how long we get this.
Mark, you mentioned that there have been 4 of these. Don't forget there was also issue 21.
Yes. So 21, I think, is basically the first of it, but it wasn't branded as the Hama Files, but it very much sort of followed that same release aspect of having that sort of
reprint
letter from reprint with on newsprint paper with the letter from Larry in the back and so on.
Yeah, that cover reminds me of some of the stuff I had to draw in 322.
Ooh.
The Arctic mission.
That's right. Yep.
Barking Fridge says if you have an Amazon subscription to ARAH, they are included in that. I was automatically given a pre-order digital. That's cool. And Diana says Chris's variant covers for these books are bananas in a good way, and I agree.
Yeah, Chris is amazing. He's really, really good at what he does.
Mark, what else is the news?
Also in the news is the solicit from February for G.I. Joe Real American Hero issue 325, and we don't normally go too much into the detail of these, but they're celebrating a mini anniversary with the 25 being a quarter of the way to 100, I guess, and nice. The things that jumped out at this is it was confirmation of Chris Mooneyham returning to the book on 325, and also we're getting an extra. Well, we're getting a file card variant, which I wonder if, because I say we've used to seeing blank sort of sketch covers, but for G.I. Joe, because of all of the history of file cards, we're getting this file card variant with a space for a drawing and then some space for bio information. And I wonder if that in part might have been what they were hinting at in the letters pages, but it also does sound like they're probably going to bring back actual file cards in the back of the book.
You mean in the letters page of the issue that we're talking about today, 323?
Today, and also last month, they sort of mentioned file cards as well. And very exciting as well, legendary G.I. Joe artist Rod Wiggum is returning to the book in some capacity because he is doing this double cover for 325, which is going to be the cover D. So I was delighted to see Rod Wiggum returning to the book in some small capacity.
Now, Skybound does not do double-sized issues at 25s and 75s, so I wasn't expecting G.I. Joe 325 to be double-sized or oversized. And what we see of these preview covers, it does have the normal cover price. So this will probably be the normal 20 pages, and I won't be disappointed 2 months from now because I already know, and that's fine.
So, all of that news aside, let's get into G.I. Joe, Real American Hero issue 323, which is brought to us by the creative team of writer Larry Hama, penciler Paul Pelletier, rhymes with Pia, inker Tony Kordos, colorist Francesco Segala with flatter Sabrina del Grosso, letterer is Pat Brousseau, and editor Alex Antone. Antone, rhymes with phone, get it right. Assistant editor Caitlin Chappell, publication design Jillian Crab, production design Richard Mercado, and creative consultant Diana Davis.
Let's have a look at the covers in the gallery.
Cover A is drawn by Andy Kuberts and colored by Laura Martin. Cobra Commander is delivering a rousing speech, and he's standing raised up on some unseen stage, fist pumping in the air, other fist holding a scepter, super dynamic pose, legs spread, cape billowing behind him. But he's not maybe directly giving a speech to all the Cobra assembled behind him, because we're seeing him in profile. Behind him are 2 or 3 Cobra soldiers who are somewhat obscured with shadow and muted color. And then, very exciting, for the first time in a long time, we see a whole bunch of one-of-a-kind Cobra agents. We see Firefly, we see Copperhead, Crystal Ball, Scrap Iron, the third G.I. Joe figure I ever bought. Scrap Iron, I just need to say it again because I can't believe Scrap Iron is on a cover. Is this his first cover, except for that John Royal variant at IDW in the 270s? Tomax and Zaymod. And help me out here, Mark. The person behind Copperhead, I was thinking it's Metalhead version 2, but then I was thinking someone appears inside the comic with a later unusual costume. So is this overkill?
It is. It's overkill. And I think a few people were a little bit thrown by the appearance of this character on the cover, as did Barking Fridge. He has appeared just once before in the pages of A Real American Hero using this design, which was in, I've got it written down here somewhere, issue 285, which was during the Murder by Assassination arc. So this is the character design, and this particular page that I'm showing on screen is from Andrew Griffith, who designed this update to Overkill because, it's an unusual design. We are more used to seeing Overkill from the comics. So when he appeared originally, in the comics from Devil's Due era, when he was sort of the Saw Viper transformed, or from the toys, where he had a couple of different appearances. Initially, he was like a sort of kind of neon, sort of semi-transparent kind of super bat. And then in the later Spy Troops era, like 2003, he was sort of reinvented with this sort of like super Cobra infantry kind of look with the red scarf.
I think that's the version I drew inside the comic. So
Yes. And he has an episode all to himself in the final season of Deke G.I. Joe cartoons, which aired in the fall of 1991, called The Eliminator, where he, Overkill, gets upgraded. And it's hilarious. But it is that sort of neon translucent bat version. And the version here is that we see the toy that Mark just flashed on screen and that Paul has drawn inside the issue has a red bandana around its nose and mouth and wrapping all the way around, sort of acting both like a bandana and also a little bit like a scarf.
Well, I was going to say one thing. The funny thing about that, not about this cover, but in general, I'm friends with Laura Martin. She had colored my work on some negation stuff at CrossGen. So I was at Heroes Con last year, and she came up to the table, and we were saying hi, catching up a little bit. And I said, "Well, you're doing a really nice job coloring these G.I. Joe covers." And she goes, "Oh, I didn't know you picked up G.I. Joe." I said, "I'm drawing the book, Laura." She goes, "Oh, you are?" So yeah, look. So she didn't even know I was drawing the comics that she was coloring the covers for. So I thought that was pretty funny.
And then, Diana says, Andrew took elements from a few toys when he came up with that one, referring to the Overkill design 4 years ago. I gave him a bunch of reference and he meshed what he liked. One last note on Laura Martin's colors on this cover, on top of Andy Kubert's inks. There's a backdrop, which is a Cobra banner with the Cobra logo, and it's red and a dark orange. And this is a very exciting cover and might have just moved into the front position for my favorite Andy Kubert cover of this 2-year run so far, because so thrilled to see all these bad guys like this.
And I was just put in mind a little bit of some of the other kind of red covers with a sort of bluish character in the foreground. I think there's a Spider-Man cover similar to that, but also this Fantastic Four one, 262, The Trial of Reed Richards, which is a bit of an iconic cover of a main central figure with heads in the background. So yeah,
cover B is Andy Kubert's inks only. Gorgeous. He just always has a really dramatic sense of light. Look at how evil Crystal Ball looks there on the bottom right. Also, I just want to point out,
doesn't he?
All of these Cobra agents, even though they're just standing there during Cobra Commander's speech, they all have slightly different body language, right? Firefly's leaning to one side. Copperhead is sort of hunched forward with his arms folded. Tomex and Zaymont look a little bit proud, a little bit of their chests puffed out. Crystal Ball's tilting his head forward so his face is in shadow, and Scrap Iron is doing a version of that, but a little bit sort of like hiding his neck in his collar, like he's gritting his teeth. Very cool and subtle.
You can also, on this black and white version, you can see that Andy Kubert has done the greys on Firefly's mask here. So it's not just black and white. Yeah, fun to see.
Cover C is painted by Steve Beach. It is the, quote, Gears of War theme, where there is a favorite Joe character and a vehicle. In this case, it's the Baroness, and she's riding, flying the Cobra Ferret. How
about surfing? She could be surfing. It's
she seems to have just gone up a small hill that we don't see, and she's airborne. She's holding a pistol in one hand, and she's sort of riding up on it the way that you do when your bike or ATV sort of hits a jump. The background is all white, but it's not just a flat white. It is a glowing white that really informs all the highlights on Baroness, her hair, her skin, her costume, and the ferret. A really nicely painted image, and the first time we've seen a ferret in a long time.
I think Diana said that for these Gears of War covers that they sort of picked out the characters and asked her for some suggestions on vehicles to pair up with them. So I think we can thank Diana for some of the vehicle suggestions that were used on these.
And that last one was the 1 in 10 ratio variant. So your store has to order in any combination at least 10 copies of A and B in order to be able to order one of these.
So we've got 2 retailer variants for this particular issue. The first one up is the John Hebert MB Artist variant, which is G.I. Joe 1985 Part 1, which I think suggests that we will see a Part 2 featuring the Cobra characters from 1985. So quick maths, we've had 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think this is probably the fourth cover that we've had now from John Hebert, featuring this lineup of the characters from a particular toy release year. So a lot of fun.
All running with vehicles behind them.
Indeed. Back to this cover. Diana points that in a shocking turn of events, you can't see Baroness's butt at the same time as her boobs. Hats off there to Steve Beach for that bold artistic decision to not break all of her anatomy. Speaking of which, let's have a look at the next variant cover. It's another one from Jamie Tyndall. This one is from 616 Comics and comes in 2 flavors, a full figure and then a foil edition, which is zooming in, sort of cropped at the knees, and is part of a series that has been released from him, including Chameleon, Baroness, and Covergirl, although this one is the first for ARAH. All of those others were for the Energon Universe book.
You can ask Diana for me if how come I can't draw the female characters like that in the book itself?
Like this.
That raises an interesting.
What's happening with her legs?
That raises an interesting question, Paul. Has anyone suggested that you adjust any of your art either ahead of time in your G.I. Joe issues or after the fact?
Early on, there was one little sequence where I tweaked the artwork a little bit after Diana had mentioned something. But since then, not quite as much, unless I goof up on a costume or a vehicle or whatnot. But otherwise than that, it's been pretty smooth sailing.
Do you recall if that first time, that only time, was something a little too actiony or violent? Was something a little too sexy? Was something
too much butt?
All right. All right. Mark, you have a line for your next jingle.
So to answer why can't you draw your girls like this? Because you respect the laws of anatomy, Paul. Oh, here we go. It was Baroness's butt, apparently. Oh, what did we miss out on?
It was.
Very good. I think
think of the children, right? All these 40 and 50-year-old children who would just might be too led astray if a G.I. Joe comic was a little too sexy.
If I remember correctly, it was in my first issue. And I ended up drawing a bunch of some wine bottles and glasses to cover up her butt on one sequence. So, yeah.
Well, I'm sure we will go find that panel as soon as we're done with this live stream.
To get into a palette cleanser and get into the mood for this extra special issue, let's have a little jingle that I prepared earlier.
So you want to be in Cobra in the field of spring? Can you be neglected for 100 issues? Tell me just one thing. Can you hide in disguise like a Crimson Guard spy if you need to? Ooh, that's tough. Can you bomb? Can you thieve? Can you fake? Can you deceive if you need to? Well, you might as well quit if you haven't got it. So you want to be a Dreadnought? Can you pass the test? I can tell if you've got it in you. I've trained with the best. When you work and you sweat and you bet cause you trained with buzzer. Sing. Then you nearly lose your mind when I transmogrified the Joker. So you might as well quit if you haven't got it.
So you want to join Destro? Want to be a god? There's a silver mask inspires you, a castle in your backyard. If you listen and you learn, there's an honor you can earn and defend here. When you do see the crown, I'm a lad, not a clown, a contender. But you might as well quit if you haven't got it.
So you want to be a cyborg? Want to be a bot? Let's get a busload of tourists, transform the lot. If you chip-packed implants, become an altered cyborg. And send back home when the time is right, we'll activate their dormant combat chips. But you might as well quit if you haven't got it.
Bravo. Bravo, Mark. Bravo.
There we go.
Folks, in fact, Mark didn't go to work all week. He's just been working on that. So at the end of the episode, when Mark mentions our Patreon backers, just think of how many more jingles Mark could do if he never had to go back to his job and could do jingles full time, and Talking Joe just once a week. Okay.
Yeah, I think we might need a few more Patreon members before we get to that kind of level.
All right, Mark, what's next?
Next up is a plot breakdown where I can reveal what actually happens on the inside of this particular issue.
Plot breakdown.
Cobra Commander has escaped from Destro's clutches and is holding a rally in an abandoned movie theatre. While Destro is occupying Springfield and Revanche has control of Cobra Island, Cobra Commander still has troops and resources of his own. He gathers some of his neglected underlings to help him regain power. At Daytona Beach, Zartan has gathered the Dreadnoks for a meeting on their future, and when rudely interrupted by another biker gang, Zartan dons a holographic clown disguise and opens a can of whoopass, asserting his authority. Meanwhile, elsewhere, in a village in the shadows of Castle Destro, Destro's Iron Grenadiers troop past, loading their vehicles into giant air transports. And finally, at Cobra Island, Alpha 001 monologues his plans to use the casino to turn their guests into cyborgs, creating an army of sleepers so that as they return home, they can support plans for global domination by Revanche.
Paul, I have a question.
Okay.
You're holding up a copy of this comic book. Did you get that at a comic book store, or is that your is that a comp from the publisher?
That's comp.
When do you get your comps?
Let's see. I think it's usually about a week or so before the book comes out.
Neat.
A week and a half.
Neat.
Yep.
All right. That doesn't mean anything. I just like those kinds of nuts and bolts. All right, so
that way, yeah, you can attend a Comic-Con with your issues just before they come out, and
you can break sales embargo.
Yeah, I try not to do that. I try not to. I don't want to screw over any retailers or anything. So
thank you.
Yeah, I try not to do that.
I do feel like if the artist or the writer is at a convention and is selling a new comic like this a week early and signing it, I do feel like that's still kind of in the spirit of things. Particularly if it's only like 5 or 10 or 20 copies. If it was, like 100, I might be like, hey. Okay, so Mark, I want to start with my exciting expectations for this issue because my favorite comic book covers are not just Spider-Man swinging through New York City or Batman hunched over on a rooftop in Gotham City, although those are fun. And we don't have to stop doing those. This cover sort of promised me that these characters would definitely show up in this issue. And I can't remember back to Snake Hunt, which is the 10-part story that ran from issue 266 to 275. And the hook was that Hama was going to put every living Joe and Cobra character in that story. And I think he just about pulled it off. But not everyone had a lot to do because it's such a big cast. And so I don't remember if all of these characters specifically did show up in that story and what they did. But Scrap Iron is a favorite of mine, and I love all of these one-of-a-kind Cobra characters that aren't just one more Heat Viper or Night Viper or Viper, because they've all got, on the cartoon, they have different voices, and they can all do very different things, and they can all be pointed in different directions. And some of them are trying to tear Cobra Commander down, and some of them will work with him. Some of them, some of them Hama has not used in such a long time that I forget about them, even though Scrap Iron is one of my favorite characters and my third ever acquired G.I. Joe toy as a kid. So I was thinking, not only are they going to show up here, but they're going to do something. And I bet they'll do a little something, which is a start. And I am satisfied. These characters did show up, do something, and a little something. Scrap Iron got a nice big 3 word balloons all to himself to sort of knock down Cobra Commander's bragging. And I share Scrap Iron's doubts. I sort of get the sense, and this is just a feeling, I haven't asked him, but I get the sense that some of these Cobra Commanders, some of these Cobra characters are not Larry Hama's favorites because they haven't shown up in a long time. Like, Tomex and Xamot loom so large in the animated series because they have a couple episodes where they're the prime bad guys, where, they don't get to do much in the animated movie, but, you sure remember their 1 or 2 lines of dialogue. And, their visual is so strong and the packaging for their toys so exciting. And when they show up in the comic back in, is it issue 38, right? And that was an issue which was advertised on television, right? Hama made use of them, but I don't think as much as the show. And then they didn't really show up again. And certainly 85, 86 was a time when Hama was getting overloaded with characters and vehicles, and no one was going to get to show up a lot. And then, you want to bring back in some favorites like Snake Eyes. But I've always sort of assumed, I guess Hama doesn't like Tomex and Xamot very much. Maybe their visual is too gimmicky. But then I think, well, he wrote their file card and it's great. And so I hope that with Hama re-energized in the last 2 years from, Skybound really pushing this book and the working with editorial, that an issue like this and a cover like this is a bit of a new beginning for some of these characters, as we have seen with some Joes in the last few issues.
Yeah, I think this issue acts as a little bit of a promise. So it's kind of, it feels like a break issue and a setup issue, and yeah, like promising of what is to come. So like it's very accessible for new readers of establishing this is the dynamic. These are the 4 kind of main baddie factions, and this is their status quo, and it's sort of setting up Cobra with all of these named Cobra characters, which we generally haven't seen much of at all very recently. And a lot of these are sort of key favorites of various people, like, Scrap Iron, he's the guy that toy that came out when I was a kid and was my favorite, but, and he's a great toy, he's a great design. And I think Cobra and G.I. Joe, there's so many characters and so many of them have such great designs that it's nigh impossible to really give them all the page time, the focus time that they could hold up to. And you sort of see that in the IDW universe when they had the Cobra series and they turned Chuckles into the leading man, who had really only ever been, had a fleeting appearance in the comics and the cartoons up to that point. And also in that same series, they made Tomax and Zaymot kind of the main baddies as well. So again, sort of some really kind of underused characters, but that can fully support, being the leads in a series as well. Here's a
question for Paul. I just want to set this in time. Paul, we're reading this in early mid-December. Mm-hmm. Do you remember when you drew this? And was anything about this issue a rush?
Rush as far as...
Were you out of time at the end, or did you start sort of later than normal? When did you draw this issue?
That's a good question. I'm trying to remember. I could probably try and find out. Let's see. It's probably about 4 months ago.
Okay.
I would say 3.5, 4 months ago.
And did you draw it in a normal amount of time? And was that the thing you were doing that month, or were you doubled up?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, originally, I think I was supposed to do up to 320, and then have a break for a while till like 325, 326. And then Alex came to me and said, well, the schedule is kind of messed up, so could you jump on 322, 23, and 24? So, I mean, I didn't have quite as much time as I normally would, but I didn't feel any kind of pressure to speed through anything. So that it was the normal amount of time.
And do you pencil? I'm sure we asked you this in your first appearance. Do you pencil a page a day?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I try to average probably anywhere between 5 and 10 hours a page.
Okay.
Depending on how much is on it, how many vehicles I have to draw.
Now that you have drawn a bunch of issues, Paul, is there a character that you're starting to jive with, or do you have a character who, I hesitate to use the word favorite because that's a very fanish word and you are a professional illustrating a job, and you don't have to be a G.I. Joe fan to draw G.I. Joe. But now that you've been drawing all these costumes and a bunch of new characters, new for you, show up in this issue, are there any that you're sort of, it's more fun to draw?
Yeah, I think I like drawing facial expressions. So, and a lot of Joe characters have facial coverings or masks or helmets or whatnot. So I think anytime I get to draw the Dreadnoks, I kind of have fun with those guys. They're just goofy and for me, it's fun to draw, like Zartan and the Dreadnoks. I think anytime they pop up, they're fun.
Or this guy we're seeing on screen right now, Scrap Iron, the third G.I. Joe action figure I ever bought. What a cool costume. Also, everyone, just remember the final line of his file card, that he wants to blow up the world. That's why I want Hama to bring Scrap Iron more into the comic, because whether he's working with Cobra Commander or Destro or by himself, that's just a delicious tease for what he could do in a story. He's kind of nuts.
Okay. See now, your love for him equals. I had a couple fans contact me through my site because Firefly appeared, and they were all excited about that. So
this is a good segue.
Everybody's got their own favorites.
Mark, can you remind me? Have we seen Firefly since 250? Since issue 250. So, folks, Dawn of the Arashikage was a story arc. There was a different artist and a different color artist, and it was from 246 to 250. 250 was oversized, not double-sized, and it was promoting Dawn as the new big character. And Firefly shows up in the story, and he's forgiven. And Mark, remind me. He gets away, and you and I have sort of talked about how there was a lot of closure for him in this story. So remind me and us.
Yeah, I guess this arc was sort of really Dawn versus Firefly, and as you say, there's a kind of closure in that she doesn't kill him essentially, but I think the last we see of them is Zartan here disguised as the Soft Master, sort of tackling him, and them falling together off of a bridge, off of this train bridge into water below. And we have seen Zartan since. So we know that he survived, but I don't believe that we saw Firefly since this last appearance. So we might, surmise that he survived, but haven't seen him. So it's a fair old length between when we saw him last in 250 to where we are now, because that's almost 75-ish issues. Convert that into years.
Plus a year that they weren't publishing issues between publishers. And then when he shows up in that story arc, he's not working for Cobra. He's sort of working for himself. Part of the reason why I ask is and anything can happen in 5 years. I want to sort of reestablish, does he owe Cobra Commander? Is he here out of curiosity? Is he, what's the dangling thread, if any?
Yeah, it's sort of, he's one of these characters, I think, sort of flip-flops in between alliances. And we did see him, along with some of the other characters that crop up here, back in, where are we? Issue number 220. This one is from Cobra World Order, where Cophead, Scrap Iron, and Firefly are together in a van, trying to. I think they're scooping up this brainwashed senator at one point.
But this is a small appearance. They don't do much in that story, which predates that previous appearance in 250 that you just flashed on screen.
Yeah, and it felt like sort of during that phase seemed to be the last time that Hama was making a push to kind of make some use of a lot of these these named Cobras, because Tomax and Zaymar also crop up around that time in issue 226 in Cobra Nation, which I think might be their last appearance. And there's a few other Cobras, underused Cobras, that also crop up in that around that time, most notably Cesspool.
Okay.
Crystal Ball seems to be a character that Hama has sort of grown to like more recently, and he has appeared a fair few times during his IDW era in a number of different stories, but also most recently in Snake Hunt, where he was sort of allying himself a bit with Zartan and sort of not really helping out Cobra Commander, because he was more helping Zartan and to a degree the Joes. One of the interesting / notable appearances that we've not seen for a little while as well was Major Blood. So he does crop up, and Major Blood is one of my favorites. He did crop up in 280, but that was a flashback story back to an untold tale. Before that, the last time we saw Major Blood was in that 2-part story, sort of in the jungle, where he was sort of helping a kind of dictator. And that was, all the way back in issue 191. So that is like a really long time to not see such a significant character. So I was, really pleased to see him make an appearance as well.
The other thing that I want to say about this opening scene is we have seen this kind of scene before in the long run of G.I. Joe, where someone in charge of Cobra is explaining to the other people at Cobra what the status quo, what the power structure is. I always think of the scene in issue 90, the first issue I ever bought, where Destro and Fred in disguise as Cobra Commander and Zorana and Mindbender and Voltar are arguing over who's in charge of what part of Cobra. And the Dreadnoks sort of kick their way into the meeting, and the Iron Grenadiers are guarding it on Broca Beach. And then, is it in the 30s, Mark? There's that scene where, I think it's a scene where Major Blood recites one of his poems, but like all of the Cobra brass are having dinner, and sort of Cobra Commander like identifies each one, and they each get sort of one panel where he says what they're doing. But whether Hama is doing this to allude to a kind of scene he has done before, or he's doing it because eventually a team needs to have this kind of meeting, or spirits rally, I love this because, as you said, it does reestablish things for new readers. It flashes back indirectly to my first issue. And it's also fun where I want to see Cobra Commander reassert himself because in escaping from Destro over the last couple of issues, he proved how wily and dangerous he is. And I really wanted that to go somewhere. And hey, he goes back to, it's Springfield, right? And is it Springfield? Where are we? Do we not know where we are? Paul, does the plot say?
I'm trying to remember
where this movie theater is.
I don't think it's specifically called out. There isn't that normal caption of saying the location. We see it say a rundown movie theater, but it doesn't. I don't think it explicitly says where it is. Right. We might make an assumption that it could be that they're returning to Broker Beach. There's a clue there. Yep. BB, top right-hand corner.
Very good.
I think that's what it is.
Very good. Okay.
Oh, here we go. Diana confirms for us. Larry's plot calls for it to be main drag, Broker Beach.
Anyway, I love this scene, and it's also fun that where later in the issue, Alpha 001 uses a hologram, and Zartan uses a hologram. In this scene, Cobra Commander uses an overhead projector or a video projector, and then Paul gets to draw someone standing in front of an image that's been projected onto a.
I tell you what, those kind of scenes or anything with a computer like a display, that stuff gives me the hardest time. Because you're drawing an image within an image instead of actually just focusing on just the storytelling part. So that kind of stuff gives me a really hard time.
I thought that the colorist Francesco Segala did a really good job on sort of bringing that sort of overhead projector element to life in terms of the approach to the projector versus what's in the foreground, and sort of using that. He's got kind of a slightly offset of the color versus the line art, which kind of helps kind of visualize that this isn't quite this isn't just a bunch of stuff in the background.
Well, the weird thing is I don't know if that's what he did or if it's just the way it printed, because it looks like everything is a little offset with these first two pages.
I do see in all these projections, all of the outlines are printed as like a dark brown or a dark purple and not a black, which sets them back further. Right. And then he does something really unusual, and that is that sort of the backdrop. I mean, it makes sense because on page 2, it's a giant Cobra logo. But on pages 4 and 5, as Cobra Commander is speaking, the background behind him is this really bold red, which is just gorgeous. It might literally be referring back to that backdrop that's behind the screen. It might just sort of emotionally be an exciting color that contrasts with Cobra Commander's blue, and then since he's yelling and pumping his fist, it's to get us excited, and it looks great.
Yep.
So sort of my takeaway from this is the kind of the most interesting thing for me is kind of almost the story beyond seeing all of these characters again, which is a lot of fun. Just the storytelling kind of framework that Hama's doing here, which is firstly, the book is called G.I. Joe, and there is no G.I. Joe characters in this particular issue. It is a baddie issue, and we are seeing 4 factions: the Cobra Commander, Destro, Zartan, and the Revanche cyborgs. And we're getting this is a 20-page issue. We're getting 5 pages per faction, and so it feels like Hama, for each of these issues, he seems to be trying to create a kind of a storytelling limitation almost for himself that he has to kind of figure his way around. So like in the last issue, you had the mirroring snow and desert story, and we've had all female issues, we've had all splash page issues, and so it feels like almost with all of these issues, Hama is trying to do something different and subtle enough that on the surface look you might not even notice what he's doing, but yeah, I think he's trying to add a little bit of fun for himself in terms of how he's approaching these issues, but also for a reader, sort of, if you notice them, it's a lot of fun. And my question at the end of this, Paul, for you is, how far into the preparation of this particular issue did it take before you saw what Hama was doing in terms of this baddies and faction approach?
Oh, I knew it was going to just be a baddies issue, but as far as the approach, to be perfectly honest, a lot of times I'll just read a couple pages in advance. So I'm not, because if I read an entire script all at once, it's almost overwhelming to think, how am I going to get through this? So if I just take a few pages, it's like shoveling a driveway. If you look at the whole thing all at once, like, oh, it's a lot of work. But if you take one section at a time shoveling, you get through it. That's kind of how I approach drawing a script.
Paul,
I'll read a few pages in advance just so I don't screw things up with the storytelling early on. But very rarely will I read through the entire thing.
Paul, I think you need a snowblower.
I got to get some exercise somehow.
The actual response is snowblowers are only good for dry snow and not great for wet snow. I think the Larry Hama script is wet snow.
It can be.
It's dense and you got to lift with your knees.
Yep.
To follow up on Mark's observation, which, silly me, I didn't pick up because I read this issue shortly before our episode and didn't take my copious notes. Besides the fact that it's just bad guys, and then because they're just these 4 scenes, this allows sort of even more of a focus for Francesco Segala's color toning per scene, right? So the Cobra scene, it's all red and blue, right? All these red backgrounds, and then all these blue casts on all these Cobra characters. And then the Dreadnought scene, it's all these muted but sort of dirty blues and browns, but not the Cobra blue, like aqua. And then
right.
And also the panel borders as well are all sort of approached slightly differently. So the Dreadnought scenes have got a brown sort of layer around the panel, whereas the gutters of the previous one are white.
Then we get to Scotland, and it's at sunset, and everything is red and orange. Not just the sky, but look at these 2 kids.
Everything.
Look at everything. Look at these 2 kids, and then we get back to Alpha 001 on Cobra Island, and everything is green,
greenish,
aqua.
One question when we're looking at the sort of layout of these different pages, and obviously there's the color treatment that makes all of these scenes very distinct, but also sort of the panel layout, particularly for the Alpha 001, makes it look very distinct with this kind of robotic sort of chip type, I don't know, sort of AIE.
Yeah, that was me just being goofy with the borders. I thought just to separate it from the other scenes.
Wow. Does this all appear and then in the pencils, these distinct layouts?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Paul,
way to add actual work, man.
Paul, every page that's not a big single splash has a big black rectangle behind it. Mark, can you go to maybe any other page? And I just wanted to ask you about this, that these 3 panels are sort of sitting in front of this slightly narrow black rectangle. Was this your idea? Is this something you're picking up from Mooneyham's pages?
Quite honestly, I don't know if it's something that's happening in the printing, or if when Tony turns in his scans, if the thresholds are too high or too low.
Well, can you, Mark?
I've noticed in print, a lot of the blacks are being lost. Like Tony's ink line team seems to get really thin. So I thought maybe if I threw more black on the page, that maybe things would pop a little more.
Oh.
And that's the main reason why I was doing that.
Okay.
Because it just everything in the final print looked a little weak compared to what I was seeing on screen. So I don't know if it really made a difference. To my eyes, the line work is still really thin in print compared to what, like, when you look at what Tony was doing on screen, it looks fine. But for some reason, the translation when it's printed, it's just for me, it's not holding up as well.
Are you, Mark? Can you zoom in on Major Blood there on his cheek? Paul, are you referring to like the thinnest of Tony's lines almost disappear?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I have noticed that, and I actually thought it was his inking, but I wasn't doing a comparison of the color printed page with the inks that Mark sometimes has on screen.
Right. No, it just, I think there's some weird translation between what Tony's turning in for his scans and when it's printed.
Okay.
So when I resume work on the book, I'll have to talk to Tony about that and see if we can get things shored up on that end.
Yeah. So here I'm talking about the 5 or 6 diagonal lines along Major Blunt's cheekbone, or the 4 or 5 lines, the diagonal lines on his nose, which, yes, when inked, they get thinner, and the thinnest parts of them start to disappear.
Right. And obviously in black and white, you see them a little better, but then in the final print, they tend to really fade out. Like, look, you can see the lines on his nose fine there, but in print, they're almost gone.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And it's not just that the color has a texture. It's not that the color texture is sort of fighting with or obscuring the black lines. It's that the black lines really, these thinnest ones really are getting thinner and sort of not printing.
Yeah.
Mark, you have anything else you want to say about this? Let's move to the Dreadnought scene, right? So the Dreadnought scene, sort of the big picture of it is that it is a way for Zartan to assert his dominance, because he says we need to stick together, and then they're not sure, and then he kills someone, and not them, and then the Dreadnoughts think, yes, we will stick together. And you and I, Mark, have pointed out a few times over the years where, for a long time, Cobra is less, or the Dreadnoughts. One of the antagonist factions is less destructive, less murderous, maybe less effective. And then every so often, Hama will write a scene where, like, Cobra Commander pulls out a gun and he's got 2 hostages in the trunk of a car, and he just walks up to the car and shoots the trunk and walks away. And you think, oh, right, he's not just like a supervillain, like Darth Vader. He is a very specific domestic terrorist, and he's weapons trained, and he doesn't just want to take over the world. Like, he will do anything to get that. And with all of Zartan's honor, and sometimes teaming up with the Joes, and all the references of grape soda and donuts, I chuckle when I see the Dreadnoughts. But the Dreadnoughts are a nightmare. I would not in real life want to run into them. Like, they're going to mug me and take my car, and they all have sharp weapons, right? And look at can you zoom in on this panel of Zartan here, Mark, that Paul and Tony have drawn?
Which one? The bottom one?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Page 10. Man, what a great drawing, Paul. Zartan is just, and you had said before, facial expressions.
Yep.
Zartan has been set off. And then the panel after it, the way that we're seeing it, it's wordless because it's unlettered. But it is wordless in the final comic, that the Dreadnoughts are stunned by Zartan's immediate savagery, and they're going to fall into line.
Well, it's kind of like the original scene with Cobra Commander and all the baddies is trying to assert who's in charge, and Zartan was showing the Dreadnoughts who's in charge. So.
Zartan has kind of had this sort of somewhat of a redemptive arc over the course of all of the Hama issues, and sort of he tends to, I think he's meant to be a schizophrenic to some degree per that original file card. So he's not necessarily going to always be kind of driving a straight line in terms of how he behaves, but he's been somewhat softened, and a lot more of his recent history has been him sort of acting with honor, or sort of working alongside the Joes and sort of helping them and being a bit counter to Cobra, and so sort of softening his edges, and along with it, because he's the boss of the Dreadnoks, the Dreadnoks have also been a little bit softened and sort of also, I guess, more allied to the Joes than not, but at their heart, I guess they're still maniacal vandals and destructive, and not necessarily people that you'd want hanging out in your local bar. So it feels like possibly we're trying to get a bit of a soft reset of these guys, of saying, they're not really good guys. They're not really the allies of Joe's. Let's sort of just set them up as their own faction again, and sort of position them in a place where they're going to act more like baddies. And Zartan's actions here, like you point out, Tim, he totally just murders a few guys here in the bar. So that's not good guy behavior, to kind of simplify things.
Paul, can you talk about this clown design?
Well, I tried to keep a little bit of like the Zartan face paint, and then just add kind of a traditional, clown type thing. That's why I have like bullets on the end of his little pom poms there, and I don't know. I didn't get too crazy with it, but just enough so you can kind of connect Zartan with the clown outfit. Because I think, if I remember correctly, that's what the other biker gang was calling him, was clown early on in the scene.
Who's in charge of this sissy clown show? I'm the head clown around here.
There you go. So
right. They've used their own words against him.
Yeah. Yes. If I'm about to get mugged by the Dreadnoks, I will not call them clowns.
Yeah. Call them the Stay Puff Marshmallow Man.
Yeah. Call them something.
What's the friendliest thing you can think of?
Call them something nice. And this is also, I think, the first time we've seen Zartan use his belt-mounted holographic projection device in a while. Right, Mark?
Yeah, it feels like that sort of, Kirby Crackle kind of glow and stuff that we get with Zartan's transforming. It feels like we maybe haven't seen that for a little while. Yeah, I could be sort of forgetting.
I'm sure we're missing
multiple
a little
instances.
one like 10 issues ago. So just, I sometimes forget that the action figure, the Zartan toy, has this color change where the plastic goes from like Caucasian to this blue in sunlight, and it's just a gimmick, and it doesn't have a great story explanation in terms of the toy. And the cartoon invents an explanation, like, well, he doesn't like sunlight, and it robs me of my camouflage ability, whatever that means, right? It just hurts, right? But it's not like, well, he was experimented on, or I'm skipping Devil's Due, folks. I know that there's some explanation in there. But in the cartoon in 84, he just turns blue when he's in sunlight, just because that is the thing that the toy does. And Mark, correct me if I'm wrong. In the comic, he's never turned blue, and he's never said anything about sun. He just uses his hologram belt to be in a different costume, and then can change his voice, and then he can put one on his bike, so his bike can look like something else. And that's Hama making his own sense, making like a Marvel Comics sense of this fun toy gimmick that is like underexplained. All these characters have a thing that they do, right? Like whenever I see Copperhead, going back to the Cobra scene at the beginning or the cover, I want to see him driving the water moccasin. And it would be okay if he's driving a land vehicle. He definitely shouldn't fly a plane, but And I don't need a scene where, like, if Broca Beach is in New Jersey, we think, like, and that's the beach, right? I don't need to see a water moccasin, like, parked at the pier or something. But the next time we see Copperhead, I'd like to see him driving his vehicle. Next time we see Scrap Iron, I'd like to see him with his little missile launcher, because it's so cool, right? And you sort of forget that Zartan can do a thing if he's not doing it all the time in the comics. Although, to be fair, when you put that flashback for issue 250 on screen a few minutes ago, Zartan is appearing as the Softmaster and is definitely using this thing. He's not changing costume. He's not using, like, a Mission Impossible mask. He's just doing the voice. Hey, are we at the halfway point? Is it time for me to... Can you get that slide ready, Mark? Listeners and viewers, I have to interrupt this episode of Talking Joe to remind you that I have a comic book coming out that I was working on for more than 10 years. And it's written by Larry Hama and it's drawn by M.D. Bright. And it's a superhero story. And ask your comic book store for The Center Holds. It's coming out in February. And they can order issue 1 right now. Okay, back to Talking Joe.
I just noticed looking at this page that Zartan's Kirby crackle there on his transformation compared to the color art is a little bit more in keeping with how it used to appear in the classic Marvel era kind of look and feel of that transformation. Here it's a little bit more of a white light kind of glow rather than, I guess, the harsher kind of black dots as appear in the original line work.
I was probably looking back at some of the classic Marvel stuff just to see what it was like when he would change his appearance.
Yeah, so, I reckon so.
Yeah.
If colorist Francesco Segala wants to create a new look for it, I'm okay with that. If it's a mistake, oh no. All right, so the third quarter of the book is in Scotland, and these two kids are playing ball, and they're in town, and a bunch of Destro Iron Grenadier vehicles go by, and this is where I think, okay, this is a very Larry Hama. I was thinking two things at the same time. I thought, oh, this is a very Larry Hama G.I. Joe scene where all this armament is getting called out. And then I thought, oh, Paul Pelletier, poor series artist Paul Pelletier, who has told us he likes to draw humans and humanoids and like soft things like clothing, and that vehicles are harder. And also, I know that this comic is filled with really weird vehicles that don't look like normal vehicles. Like this tank looks like 3 tanks smashed together and formed a new tank. With like extra missiles, and I love seeing them. And okay, the same way that the opening scene is for Cobra Commander to reassert his dominance, and the second scene is for Zartan to reassert his dominance. This scene is for Destro to reassert his dominance, but it ends on a very different note, and that is, and this is another very Larry Hama thing, where military service is a little fraught. That you make a sacrifice, and these two boys are so excited to see their sort of hometown hero, their national hero, who's also kind of an international terrorist. But hey, and one of them says, "I can't wait until I'm old enough," and he's interrupted by this old man who's missing a hand or an arm and has an eye patch. And Mark, you can probably do the accent better than me.
It's nae all adventure and glory, lads. Sometimes there's a price to pay.
And this scene feels like every 30 or so issues of G.I. Joe, the Joes go to Arlington National Cemetery, or they acknowledge characters who've died in the past, or someone has a note about this sacrifice, that you may get hurt, or that no one may know that you did the heroic thing. That goes back to issue 1 of G.I. Joe.
Well, I'm trying to remember, was it like the second or third Chris Mooneyham issue where they have a scene like that, where they're Arlington. So,
Yeah.
Yep.
And some of the new guys say, why is this bad guy who wasn't really a G.I. Joe getting buried at Arlington? And, and, you know, for all of my like G.I. Joe's a little sci-fi and fantasy, because there's cloning and cyborgs and these one person like hover pods with little missiles on them that Destro makes. For all of that, it's still a comic told from a particular point of view. Like, these scenes are not taking place in the Pentagon. The Pentagon isn't saying like, send in G.I. Joe, you know, like the Rambo cartoon, get me Rambo. And there's no scene in G.I. Joe with the president. And, you know, we barely have ever seen a senator, although there is a brainwashed senator that I'd like Larry to get back to.
Yeah, I did single out this particular exchange actually as well, Tim, as my hammer time for the week.
Hammer time.
It's a definite hammerism in terms of the look and feel of that. And look, in bottom right hand corner, is this sheep Zartan in disguise? Paul?
It's funny that it kind of looks that way, doesn't it?
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
Paul, have you been to New Jersey? Have you been to Scotland?
I've been to New Jersey a long time ago.
Have you been to? I mean, it's sort of like Atlantic City, right? Isn't Broken Beach sort of Atlantic City? Or
I think it's supposed to be like a rundown version of it. Yeah.
Okay. Or like Jersey Shore.
Right.
Have you been to those places in New Jersey?
No.
Okay.
But yeah, some great pages here from you, Paul, with the vehicles. They're looking great, and that previous one with all of the tanks sort of rolling in through the Scottish village in the shadows of Destro's castle. I mean, I'm guessing these pages might have taken a little bit longer than some of the others, but also, are you getting a lot more confident? Are you feeling more comfortable with seeing this technology, given how much of it you've now drawn up to this point?
Comfortable drawing it, a little bit, but I mean, there's so much jumping around with the book that it's hard to get into a groove with a specific kind of vehicle. So I just kind of try to do the best I can with what I have. If I remember correctly, I think it's the next page where I do like a overhead shot.
When I saw this page, I thought, oh, what a relief for Paul. He gets to draw one of these weird vehicles in profile.
Well, not in the first panel.
Right.
I'm not sure if 3D Joe's has even got a top-down view of some of the vehicles.
You could the blueprints. If someone was to Google the blueprints, Paul, do you know about this? All the vehicles.
I think Diana had sent me a bunch of those,
right.
And I do Google them online too.
Okay.
So if I can find them, they're very helpful.
Paul, drawing this small village in Scotland.
Okay.
Are you thinking of certain reference, or can you talk about the backgrounds in this scene?
Yeah, of course, Google Images is very helpful, and I will just get shots of a generic like Scottish town.
Okay. And
just to get a feeling, a flavor. I mean, I'm not accurate whatsoever, but like really, really accurate, but just as long as it has the flavor of what we're supposed to be going for, that's what I try to shoot for.
Yeah, there's some nice little background touches in terms of the shops and things. On this first page, it looks like we've got a cafe called the Magic Haggis.
Yeah, that was I think I'm the one who came up with that. I can't remember if that was in the script. I don't think it was, but
Diana points out that the Magic Haggis is a Scottish opera, like the Magic Flute, but more haggis focused. Yeah, and I'm not 100% confident that Larry's got the Scottish brogue completely accurate. I think a few of the natives might object a little bit to how they're being characterized here, but at least he's trying.
Mark, should you write a letter to the G.I. Joe comic and make a mild suggestion for how to adjust some of this verbiage? You could say, I'm no expert because I'm in another part over here, but I do think this sentence may have, flowed better if written like this. Huh?
Well, I don't know. It was the pure dead brilliant, and then it's grand, innit? Gives me chills. It does. I'm not too sure that's how Scottish teens are quite talking these days. But
I'm gonna rewrite this scene very slightly if it wants to be authentic to actual reality. Now, I think these kids might just be looking at their phones and ignoring the parade. So if Hama wants to have them not have phones and look up from their not having phones and see a real thing and react to it, if the dialogue is a little bit off, I'm okay.
Yeah, here we go. The rewrite is that the kid's on the phone, not paying any attention, and his dad is going, "Look, laddie, it's a great bloody tank in front of you. Eyes up."
Okay, so then we get this final scene. There was a comment earlier, which we didn't read out loud. Greg Augustin said, that's a great looking design. It's a great looking drawing of Alpha 001, Paul. So we've got this final scene. And is this the only splash page in the book? I think it is. That's fun.
Well, I think there might have been a couple others, or at least one other in the original script, but for like storytelling purposes, I felt more comfortable breaking it up into panels.
Okay.
So
yes, I do think as writer, Hama does like to include some splash panels, some splash pages, so that his artists can cut loose now and then. And it might even be that capitalist as not just cut loose artistically, but also have a thing to sell. That's a little more exciting. All right. So we're on Cobra Island, and I really appreciated that yellow caption on the top of this page, because I know that Revanche, Mark, was headquartered in New Jersey, but then also
Baton Rouge,
which is excuse me, which is not New Jersey, Louisiana. Thank you. And also, Mark, remind me, 2 issues ago, where did Dr. Mindbender get his upgrade? Was that there?
That he was at Cobra Island for that one. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. I liked this reminder that Revanche is now situated fully in Cobra Island. I want to, okay. So this scene is also a little bit of a place. It's not so much for Alpha 001 to assert its dominance, quite like the other 3 scenes. Certainly not like the first 2. It's a little bit more subtle than that, because what happens here is it reveals its plan to us. And the plan is setting up some kind of big stakes, maybe sort of broadly spread out good guy, bad guy conflict if all these tourists who come to the casino are going back home, wherever they're from in America, as like altered cyborg sleeper agents. And that's very exciting to me, because I like a big scale threat like that. I'm a little worried that, the 20-page increments of a monthly series might be a challenge for like the G.I. Joe team, like Hama in his writing. It's like, is this building to issue 350? Is it, going to be like a 5-issue cycle and someone will push a button? It's like, oh, every single sleeper agent who was a regular tourist, like the like chip in their brain just got zapped and they're back to normal. Like, I like this setup. It's so big, it might be hard to write and draw. And I'm not saying the team can't do it, but it is less traditional than like a bunch of Joes and a bunch of Cobras with vehicles like meet on a mountainside, or, someone is infiltrating a base. But I want to go back to, because Mark, there's 1 or 2 really key lines of dialogue in the opening scene with the Cobra Commander that I want to call out. When he's got the slideshow up, he says, Destro's forces never uncovered the secret hangar underneath the hidden airstrip on the north side of Springfield. That was our reserves. And he rattles off all these vehicles that are still there underground. And then, where does he mention tunnels in Cobra Island? Where's that one?
Oh, here we go. Revanche.
Good.
Revanche may have taken Cobra Island and staffed the casino with specialized androids and cyborgs, but their hive mind is still unaware of our secret tunnel system and ordnance stockpiles under the resort hotel. And I, Cobra Commander, am still standing.
Good, thank you. So,
There we go.
So this opening scene like informs all the scenes that come after it, that Cobra Commander is still such a threat, and I don't know what's going to happen with the Dreadnoks. I don't know where they're going. I don't know if they're specifically. It seems like they're going to go for Cobra Commander, but that's a guess. Destro, we assume, is going for Cobra Commander because Cobra Commander just escaped. And Mark, remind me, did they let that happen?
He's got like a tracker.
Yes.
Yeah, I think they let it happen on purpose, and he's got a tracker in his head or something.
And then certainly Cobra Commander wants a rematch with Revenge. And, actually, Paul, after you've drawn a whole issue without any Joes, if this is going to continue for a couple issues, and there's just a big, I don't want to call it a Cobra Civil War, but a 4-faction Cobra fight, there's a story arc title for you folks. Excuse me, do you have part 3 of the Cobra 4-faction fight in issue G.I. Joe 320 something? I'll read that. And I don't need any Joes to show up. The Joes can just sit back and watch. Duke and Mainframe and Stalker and Psych Out can just be in front of a blue monitor in the basement of the pit and say, wow, will you look at that? Cobra sure is taking itself out for us.
We're going to drag those guys out of the computer room.
Here.
Yeah, I don't know if Paul's ever been able to draw Duke not sort of stood in front of a control monitor.
There was one time, if I remember correctly, it's when he was outside the gate meeting a car that was driving up. So I think that was it.
Weren't Duke and Wild Bill was it a C-130 that was going to crash in issue 300? That was the cliffhanger at the end of the previous publisher's run. So 2 years ago, Duke was in a plane. I don't want to put any undue pressure on any of the team, but I feel like there is a really valuable creative consultant who works on every issue of this book, who's a big fan of a character like Duke. And maybe that person could just keep hitting the editorial team and the writer, like not just more Duke, but a more active Duke. And beyond Duke, Hawk, I don't think has yet even appeared in the Skybound iteration. He is on the first page of issue 301 in that
as part of the
recap. But it's not a story scene. And again, there are a ton of characters, and did I mention how excited I am that ones like Scrap Iron showed up in this very issue? But if the next issue it's Snake Eyes and Dawn and like Helix and like one Joe that we haven't seen in 5 years, and someone's like, awesome, it's downtown. I'll be like, awesome, downtown. But I want Duke to get in an All-Striker, and I want Scrap Iron, Duke and Scrap Iron. There we go, Duke versus Scrap Iron.
Speaking, go.
I was going to say, if I remember correctly, I believe Duke is in the computer room again in 324. So there we go.
Well. He is the field. Wait, is he? He's the field commander, right? And I don't precisely know what that term means, because the first half of it suggests out in the field, but the second half of it could also imply back in the pit. Diana says, I try not to push my Duke requests too much because people expect it. That is, but yeah, as a blonde man, Duke must really be pale after so long without sunlight. I appreciate that the creative consultant on the book is not causing a ruckus with any personal preferences. But the letters page has said a couple issues now. Someone lists some characters that they want to see who we haven't seen in a while, and then they say it'd be great to see them, or I don't want to just give you a list, but it would be great to see these. And then editor 1 and editor 2 have said, no, this is helpful, this is fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't want to give you a list, but here's a list.
There's so many of them that I can't even imagine what it must be like being Larry writing this book for 40 years. I mean, that's just insane.
I mean, during the Marvel run, it was different because a couple times a year he had to introduce specific new characters and vehicles, and so sort of by definition, there wasn't room to include the ones from 2 years earlier. And there was this continual and slow refreshing of things. And then that changes because some characters get like new toys, a revised costume. And so you can have that character come back. And then when the IDW run starts in 2010, there is no toy line that's making Hama do that. And he can just, as like now, just focus on the characters that he wants to. And I feel like in the IDW run, it was more sort of like the core 15 that he likes. And then getting more in the last few years of some new characters and a fun plucking of like Downtown. And Downtown can join the fight. Duke and Downtown versus Scrap Iron. Issue 331, folks. You heard it right here. That's my hope.
And also sort of not just characters, but also vehicles as well. We've seen an awful lot of vehicles being plucked out from the history and Paul having to draw them. And on this particular page on screen, page number 5 from this issue, we get a verbal Easter egging of vehicles from Cobra Commander. Talk about two squadrons of Rattlers, a squadron of Mambas, Liquidators, Fang 2s, several Stellar Stilettos, 3 Condors, and dozens of Aspids, lining those all up for Paul to draw in the future. And one of those, I was like, what is that? It's Cobra Liquidator, which is just one of those.
That's the one with the handle, right? The handle that folds down,
yeah,
and
I think so.
It squirts
You've
water.
Got fold down handle, yeah.
That's a little toyetic. For my tastes. But, hey, some kids are 5 or 10 years younger than me and got into G.I. Joe later, and this is their G.I. Joe. They didn't have the Sky Striker or the Conquest, so or the Rattler or the Night Raven, so good for them. Paul, I have a question about the last page.
Okay.
Are any of these people you know?
No, I just make them up.
Okay. Okay.
That's where I have fun. Is just drawing different kinds of faces and well, granted, they're all kind of vacant and zombie-like, but no, that's like I said. I enjoy drawing characters. So any chance I get, and that's why, like I said, with the scene with the Dreadnoks and Zartans, like, I get to have a little bit of fun here. So that's where I get to get more joy when drawing.
And my takeaway from like the end of this issue is that we've got a lot of setup here. And when we looked at the last issue, which was that hot and they're cold, snow and desert issue, we got to the end of it and I was like, is this the end of the story? Are we going to pick up this story next issue, or are we going to never refer to this? Or are we going to refer to it 10 issues down the line? Or are we just never going to refer to this mission ever again? And it could be any one of those things for us as G.I. Joe listeners. It could be hot on the heels, or it could just be, no, we're just not going to talk about that mission again. And my thought going into sort of with the end of this one is that we've got a great setup, and Larry in the last iteration at IDW has done some great setup issues, which then have been not necessarily completely followed up. And he does make things up as he goes along, so he hasn't necessarily got a board on his wall with pins and bits of strings tying how he's going to map this out into the future. So my hope is that with this setup of these 4 factions and also seeing all of these great Cobra characters that we've not seen for many years, that it won't be too long before we get a sort of the build on it and sort of follow up what is being set up here.
Well, that was kind of the interesting thing with these last 3 issues I did. They're 3 completely different stories. So, I mean, they're different environments to 3 completely different ones. So it was interesting because I'm sure you've seen the promos and the solicitations for 324. They're in
the next one has got
Joe's in space.
Joe's in space.
Exactly.
Although like fewer backgrounds in space, right? If you're not on a space station,
Unless you're going to draw every single star.
when I was younger, and sort of who and how someone drew a comic was a mystery to me. And then I got a little older, and I understood that it was a professional's job. I think there were times where I might have thought, well, why would drawing a bunch of different stuff in a row be harder than drawing the same things? It's like, you're just drawing it. It's like, how can it be harder to draw like mountains one month and then like snow or the desert the next month? And maybe an analogy is like music. Like if you know a band and they can play in lots of different styles, if they're playing 3 nights in a row at a venue and it's rock, rock, and rock, they get into a groove. And if the first night it's rock, and then the second night it's like, well, half it's jazz and half it's blues, and then the third night it's like ragtime, but with some rock. At the end of that week, they might be tired in a different way. Certainly not bored. And I imagine it's something like that, Paul.
Well, I mean, like, say, back when I was doing Aquaman for DC, on a book like that, it takes me a good 4 or 5 issues to really figure out the characters, how I should properly draw them and whatnot, and get to know them more. A book like G.I. Joe, since there's so many characters, so many different story points, and it jumps around so much, it's hard to get a really good rhythm going, on top of the amount of reference that needs to be used. And it's because I've got reams of photocopy paper and files on my computer, just G.I. Joe references, so much of it. It's hard to get a decent rhythm going. I mean, it's a challenge. It can be a fun challenge, but there are times where it's like, oh, be nice to try and have a certain set of characters on like a 3 or 4 issue run and just concentrate on those. But that's not the way this book is. And I know the challenge of drawing it when I go into it now. I didn't realize it at first, but now 13 issues into it now, I get a pretty good idea of what's going on. So,
Mark, should we get to letters page? There's a good letter in here.
Yeah, I was just going to highlight favourite line of dialogue from this issue, which is this one. So it's Cobra-centric issue. It's the reverse of G.I. Joe. It's the baddies. And what's the reverse of the famous G.I. Joe phrase?
Not knowing that, he loses half the battle.
So I thought that was a delicious piece of dialogue there from Cobra Commander.
I think that might also be some meta commentary from Larry Hama, who has no particular affinity for the G.I. Joe cartoon. It was a different continuity. He wasn't working on it. And I think he's a little like surprised when people come up to him at conventions and they like rattle off the cartoon slogan. It's like, oh, okay, well, I write the comic. And so I think this is him having not just sort of fun at turning it into a Cobra thing, but sort of aiming it back at us. Do you want to read this letter?
Yeah, so there's a great little letter in the back.
Can you cue the music?
Which music goes here?
I just want to point out, I think the great letter that I sent in 3 months ago is just not going to get printed. Take it away, Mark.
Dear Alex and crew, ARAH 320 was a great action-packed close to the current arc. I couldn't help but notice how the 2 Joe teams faced mirroring situations in this issue. It's great to see Larry continuing to experiment with story from issue to issue. To call out the plot parallels, here's my combined plot breakdown for the issue. In Springfield/Cobra Island, the Joe team are in a hijacked Cobra Jeep, heading towards the Cobra Airfield/dock to make an escape with Cobra in pursuit. Duke sends air cover to support the team. Arriving at the airfield/dock, Jinx/Muskrat is unsure how to pilot the Aspid/Moray, but they think they can handle it, having experience with flight sims/a Bayou airboat. They set off with Cobra still in pursuit, and just as Cobra looks to overwhelm the Joes, their air support arrives just in time to come to the rescue, allowing for a safe return back to the pit. Until next time, yo, Joe. Mark, Talking Joe.
And then editor Ben Abernathy replies, "It's great to hear from you, Mark, and your plot breakdown nailed it. We hope you love this current arc." I've never met Ben Abernathy, so I can only assume that is a perfect impression.
Perfect impression. Perfect.
Some good letters
No
here
notes.
from people that we have seen write letters before, and people that we haven't. And someone has a good suggestion for some more silent missions. No, it's just yeah. Someone has a good suggestion for silent missions where the hook would be Cobra and Joe team up issues, and I like that. But I think I've run out of things to say on this issue, Mark and Paul. So, Mark, what do we do? Is this where I mentioned...
Paul, any closing thoughts from you on this particular issue? Anything that maybe we've not talked about?
Outside of the crazy, the hive kind of interior where the alpha, what's it, 001 or whatever its name is, that was a challenge. I'm trying to remember exactly how Larry had written it, but it was very abstract and kind of a alien like hivey type. So I tried to draw pods up on the sides of the walls where there are other lesser, what are the betas instead of the alphas. So it was that was a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, he gets a nice little slugmobile.
You like the little scooter?
I also like that in Hama's plot, he calls it out. What is it? He says have my track buggy brought around to the front door.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out because he was supposed to be touring the sections of the island, and I was like, well, okay, he's kind of cumbersome. I don't know how he would get around. It's like, oh, we'll make a little scooter for him. So there we go.
While we're looking at this page, folks, I'll just point out something neat that Paul has done here in his storytelling. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are 5 panels on this page, and all 5 of them have a different, quote, camera angle on Alpha 001 taking this tour. So one could draw this scene, and it would be kind of boring, where it's sort of the same view of Alpha 001 as like the background is scrolling by like a side scroller video game. And maybe boring's too hard, maybe uniform. But we're far away, we're close up. In 2 of the panels, we're so close up we don't even see the scooter. In one panel, it's looking to the right. A few panels later, it's looking to the left. It's sort of hunching forward. And I find that final panel really funny, where we've pulled back. It's a profile shot. There's that sort of chained gate, and you can see this cruise ship with a telling seam down the front center of it. But this like terrible robot slug is driving this like, John Deere.
Just out for a stroll.
Yeah.
Well, and it was one of those things where I don't like, unless it's a specific storytelling way of doing things, I don't like repeating the same thing over and over again. And I was just trying to figure out ways where it can kind of lead your eye from the top left down to the bottom right. And word balloon placements always help too. And this was perfect how it was done.
Diana says he needs one of those horns with the rubber bulb. Paul, remind us, what is it you're working on? Who's it for? When's it coming out? And where can we find you on the internet?
Well, good luck finding me on the internet.
I hear you have deadlines.
I do have deadlines. People can always, if they want to email me or check out, stuff I have up on my sites, paulpelletierart.com. And what I'm working on now, I'm halfway through a mini series for Titan Comics called Mutant Year Zero. I think it was based on an RPG video game. What else is there? Yeah, it stars a pig and a duck. So I'm having a blast drawing it. Not sure. I'm not sure exactly when it's coming out. Because like I said, I'm halfway through drawing it, but it's been a lot of fun. And like I said before, I was just talking with Alex Antone the other day about a return to G.I. Joe, probably around 329, 330, right around there.
Paul, who is inking your project for Titan?
They're actually coloring direct from my pencils.
Oh, is that an added pressure or excitement?
I mean, obviously you've seen from the pencils I do in G.I. Joe, my pencils are fairly tight anyways.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more pressure, but I mean, I'm really enjoying how it's turning out so far.
Cool.
You just can't leave little crosses to fill in.
When the book comes out, the first few pages, you will see those crosses. Because I didn't realize at that point, we had figured out maybe after I'd drawn like 3 or 4 pages that they decided to just shoot from the pencils. So yeah, so the early pages do have the little X's in them. So,
but we do have one more issue from you this time next month, January 14th. The cover is set in space. Maybe some of the interiors will also be in space. We shall find out. And
yes, you will.
So we will look forward to that. Also coming up soon, Tim, is there any other books?
Folks, you just gotta read this upcoming miniseries written by Larry Hama, Mark Bright, MD Bright's final work in comics. Larry Hama and Mark Bright working together again for the first time since their G.I. Joe run in 1990. I put them back together, and yes, I'm bragging. This is my project, but they own it. Larry and Mark's estate own it. Mark passed away a year and a half ago. And it's superheroes, and it's 4 issues, and it's called The Center Holds. Comes out in February. Ask your comic book store to order it right now. You'll like it.
Yeah, I was a fan of Mark's work when he was doing the Power Man and Iron Fist.
Oh, wow.
I really enjoyed his work on that.
That's great to hear, Paul.
Yep.
And then Mark, this is where you talk about the other comics.
Yeah, so also coming up in the world of G.I. Joe from the Energon universe is the next part of the Dreadnought War, issue number 16, out December 17th. That is this coming week as a point of recording. And then 2 weeks after that will be the finale, Dreadnought War part, or was that 6?
5.
Coming out. 5 is okay. Coming out in January the 7th.
It's a very Road Warrior feel to that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Void Rivals will be out Christmas Eve, December the 24th. So all sorts of fun to enjoy. If you are new to Talking Joe, you can find us over at talkingjoe.co.uk. That is the website that points to all of the places we can be found, such as patreon.com/talkingjoe. Big thanks to Sam, Richard, Bill, Rob, Shane, Simon, Chris, Joe, Craig, Frank D, Shane V2. This one has a giant yellow tractor that he likes to drive about. Maybe. Infinite Entertainment, Patrick, Gary V, and Cole Droff. They're getting early access to content, exclusives, and a Christmas glow in their hearts. We've also got links from Talking Joe to the new merch store on the Facebook group. People have been posting some of the merch as it has been landing. So people are, dressing up with Talking Joe t-shirts. It is wild times.
If you would like to wear a t-shirt with a drawing by a G.I. Joe artist of Mark and Tim, your G.I. Joe Comics podcast hosts, you can do that now.
Oh.
Very good. Tim, where can you be found when you are not talking to me and illustrious guests?
YouTube channel, Atomic Abe, Hub Comics, my brick and mortar store, and A Real American Book, my G.I. Joe blog.
Nice.
Very Good. And as we wrap up, a big thanks to Paul for once again joining us, returning guest, as I say, close to being co-host by this point.
Yes. Sooner or later, I'll understand this G.I. Joe universe a little better. So thanks to you guys. It helps out a lot. So
very good. Thank you, Paul. Looking forward to your next issue and hopefully more besides that. But before we go, Tim, is there anything that you want to remind the listeners of?
There is. I'd like to remind the listeners to read The Center Holds. And also that...
Hey, there we go.
No, Nobody Beats Talking Joe, an international podcast.
Nobody Beats Center Holds, Tim's actual comic. Laters.